Jessica said call the meeting to order. So I am. I do as I'm told. If I can get the preacher to sit down, we'll be all right. I call this meeting to order, and then, Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Senator Berg, Senator Boswell, here. Senator Deneen, here. Senator Harper Angel, Senator Higdon, here. Senator Meredith, present. Senator Smith, Senator Westerfield, here. Senator Williams, here. Senator Wilson, here. Representative Blanton, here. Representative Bratcher, Representative Dietz, here. Representative Dossett,
present.
Representative Freeland, Representative Fugit, here. Representative Gilbert,
present.
Representative Gooch,
here.
Representative Hart,
here.
Representative Johnson,
here.
Representative Cook, here. Representative Lewis,
here.
Representative Maddox, Representative Massaroni, here. Representative Proctor, present. Representative Raymer,
here.
Representative Sharp,
Present.
Representative Stalker,
Present.
Representative Stevenson, here. Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Present.
Representative Wesley, Co-Chair Thomas,
Present.
Co-Chair Girdler.
Present. All right. We're going to have a little special. My four precious grandkids are going to come up here and lead us in the pledge. So, Ollie, bring your cohorts and stand right in front of our blessed preacher, Miss Stevenson. All right, right here. And then, Ollie, stand right there and just start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Face the flag. All right. There you go. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Ms. Stevenson, would you please lead us in a word of prayer?
Thank you. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, once again we come before the throne. Lord, we need you right now. In this room are good people with good hearts, wanting to do the right thing. So we ask that you lead us, guide us, love us, and help us make the decisions on behalf of the families. And the church said,
Amen.
Representative Thomas also has some guests. Representative Thomas has a guest he wants to take.
We got some guests, special guest. Representative Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce to everybody, and it's my honor to have the Pendleton County High School NJROTC group with me today, and Lieutenant Commanders Clinton Warren, Joel Nahari, and Master Sergeant Brian Milton. Their instructors are also with them. Guys, if you all could just stand up and let us recognize you. Thank you so much for being here.
All right. Thank you all. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce Adam Moore, if he would stand up. He is going to be the new representative in District 45, I believe, which is Lexington and a little bit of Jessamine. But he is newly elected, and you can see his enthusiasm for veterans already. Here he is. He's not even sworn in yet, but he's here already meeting all of y'all, and we're going to see what we can do on trying to get him on this committee. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you. I would say congratulations, but I'll wait till you're here for about 6 months, and then we'll see. All right. Any other guests? No other guests. All right. If I can get a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Motion.
A motion. Got a second? Anybody disagree? Because we'll all agree and not have to do anything else. Motion. Minutes passed. Huh? All right. I'm going to go first with a special guest. And if Randy Weatherford and his lovely grandkids will come stand right there, and my lovely grandkids are the same ones. This is my son-in-law's dad. So, Chairman, in case you...
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, in case.
All right, guys, if y'all want to stand there, do you want them to sit? Are they going to say a few words?
No, they ain't gonna say anything.
No? What? Well, let's put her on as a chair there, so. It's a good-looking group there.
Except him.
Well, yeah.
Thank you all for your patience. Today, we're going to honor Staff Sergeant Randy Weatherford. And as you can see, and as you already heard, that's my son-in-law's daddy. And we have the same grandkids. I adopted Harper. Harper's from the daughter's side. But anyway, she's a sweet jewel person. Staff Randy Sargent enlisted in the United States Army on November the 3rd, 1976, and served for 2 decades before retiring in November of 1996. He was a reconnaissance
Reconnaissance, yes.
specialist and M1 armor crewman and member of the U.S. Army Cavalry Scouts. Staff Sergeant Weatherford served in the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, and the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment. I don't know if he could find a home or not, but anyway, they moved him around. He served for a total of nearly 9 years in Germany and 12 months in Korea on the military zone, demilitarized zone. Is that what-
DMZ, yes.
Yeah. A highly decorated soldier, Staff Sergeant Weatherford was awarded multiple military honors for his valor, including the Meritorious, is that it?
Military service, yes.
Yeah, Service Medal, with 1 oak leaf cluster, Army Commendation Medal with 5 oak leaf clusters, Army Achievement Medal with 5 oak leaf cluster, 6 Army Good Conduct Medals, National Defense Service Medal, NCO Professional Development Ribbon, Advanced, Army Service Ribbon, 4 Overseas Service Ribbons, Expert Qualification Badge, and the M16 Rifle Qualification Bar. Staff Sergeant Weatherford demonstrated a laudable willingness to boldly and skillfully do what was required to maintain peace and to preserve freedom in our world. His distinguished service has brought great honor and pride to his community and the entire Commonwealth. The Interim Joint Committee on Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protection, the Commonwealth, and myself and our family offer you, Staff Sergeant Randy Weatherford, our sincerest commendation and gratitude for your service to our country. May God bless you and keep you, and wish you continued success and good fortune in the future years to come. Thank you, Randy. We're gonna honor Randy with a citation, and it basically says what this says, say it a little bit more, and then we're going to give him. I always give these military people coins. They can't spend them, but they can have them to hold. So, thank you, Randy. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
And now we got to give him these 4 grandkids. We're going to turn them over to him, and I'd say he'll get a lot of medals there. So, thank you. Thank you. That's
Thank you all.
Thank you for your service, sir. All right, as our chairman is coming back up, let's bring Major General John Tyndall. If you would, take the floor, and Senator Deneen, if you want to go down and join him. And looks like Matt's joining them too, so hopefully pull up more seats if you need. And make sure the green light is on. I think the senator he'll steer you through all that. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. It's my honor today to recognize a wonderful individual that has contributed so much during his military service, but has gone the extra mile after his military service and has continued to serve his community and his fellow veterans. So with that, I will read a proclamation here, or a citation rather. Major General John Tyndall is recognized and honored for his distinguished service as a vital member of the United States Army, who served his country with great valor for 36 years, including during the Vietnam War, and he continues to serve on behalf of his fellow veterans through several worthwhile veteran service organizations and endeavors. A respected resident of Radcliffe, Kentucky, and a graduate of the University of Tennessee and the United States Army War College, Major General Tyndall served in both the active duty and Army Reserve, including as a helicopter and fixed-wing aircraft pilot during the Vietnam War and as a commanding general of the 100th Training Division. In addition to his distinguished military service, he is a respected community business leader, small business owner, and commercial property developer and manager, as well as a pillar of his community who generously lends his time and expertise as a member of the boards of the Fort Knox Regional Development Alliance, the Baptist Health Foundation, and Hardin County Water District No. 1. In addition, he has been a longtime supporter of his fellow veterans and has been involved in many worthy efforts over the years, most notably his grassroots initiative to raise funds to help military members facing financial challenges, which ultimately led to the creation of what we know today as USA Cares, Inc. in 2003. The organization provides financial and job search assistance to veterans and active duty service members in order to reduce those factors that contribute to veteran suicide. Major General Tyndall served on the organization's board of directors until 2021 and currently serves as a member of the Executive Advisory Council, where he continues to guide the organization and support its mission. Inasmuch as Major General John Tyndall demonstrated a laudable allegiance to his nation and a willingness to boldly and skillfully do what was necessary to maintain peace and preserve freedom in the world, and following his retirement has continued to work tirelessly in support of his fellow veterans and their families. He has offered sincere accommodations and gratitude for his service and extended best wishes for future success and good fortune as he continues to labor so diligently in the interest of the common good, and is hereby deemed by this honorable body most worthy of its recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General John Tyndall, Jr. Thank you, sir.
Not many people are taller than I am. This is a family affair, and I won't take long. But my dad, World War I, World War II. I served in Vietnam. My brother served in Vietnam. Met a young lady in Vietnam, an Army nurse. You think I had it tough. She had it tougher, tougher, tougher. critical care ward lost 40% of her patients because they were not able to medevac them out. They stabilized them in country. She doesn't get the credit that she deserves. Her father, POW World War II, spent a year in a POW camp until he was liberated. We do this because we're family. USA Cares is an extension of what families need, families deserve, and I'm glad to be part of it. And I really humbly and appreciate this committee's generous donations to USA Cares. Over $15 million over the last 21 years have been given to military families across the nation who were in crisis. If you've never been to a return home ceremony of soldiers, sailors, Marines, Coast Guardmen, airmen who come back from a combat zone, you need to do that. It's a humbling moment. The more difficult is to attend the ceremony of them deploying, because you don't know those who will make it and will come back and those who may not. I'll tell you one story and then I'll shut up and sit down, okay? A Kentucky guardsman, I don't remember the name, 20 plus years ago, mobilized to go to Iraq, was at his deployment training site at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. His wife was pregnant. They were deploying within the next week or so after the wife called and said, I'm having the baby, I need you, can you come? The guard said, yes, we'll let you go over a weekend, but we can't fly you there. USA Cares flew him there to see his wife and be there at the birth of their first child. Not that all births aren't important, but that first one is critical and is very special. I've always wondered whether he came back, but I know that USA Cares gave him the opportunity to hold his child the first moment that that child was born. That's what USA Cares does, and I appreciate both the honor and the privilege of being part of that, making a difference to those many hundreds and thousands of families that we have. So I'll shut up. Thank you. I'm bragging, and they'll probably shoot me for not sitting down, but our son was mobilized right out of basic training with the 223rd MPs, went to Iraq, had his 19th birthday there, came back and went to that blue university in Lexington. I don't know what it's called. In his last semester, he was stop loss, and for those of you who don't know what stop loss are, you stop everything and you go with the Army, whether you want to or not. He did, and went to Iraq the second time that the 223rd went. That's when I talk about family. From World War I to current. That's why USA Cares is here and does what it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's do this. We got some members that have chosen not to come back, and I always thought it'd be harder to leave than it was to come back to run. But I know that Whitney, he's not on Ozempic. He's on 3 kids at the house, and he's lost weight because of those 3 kids. So if you want to lose weight like Whitney, have your wife to have 3 kids. Only thing I can tell you. Whitney, we're going to miss you, and I'll especially miss you because I depended on you a lot, and you were very special to me, and thank you. Thank you. Senator Harper Angel here? She's not here, but she's leaving us after a bunch of years, I think. And she's a precious lady, so she decided not to come back. So we're going to miss her. And Representative Courtney Gilbert. You here? Where you at? Oh, right there in front of me, Courtney. You know, y'all got 100 members, and I barely can remember the 38 in the Senate that I sat with all day. So, Courtney, thank you for your service. We really appreciate you. And anytime you want to come back, you're young enough, you can come back and serve like me and Walker Thomas here. You know, old people can come back too. So thank you, Courtney. Jessica's going to keep me online here. We're going to call up USA Cares. And I think old Big Boy is going to, are you going down again?
I think so, after they get done.
All right. We're going to let you all sit there and then save 2 chairs for Big Boy. This is the USA Cares that the Major General was talking about. So y'all may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to be here on behalf of USA Cares. I'd like to ask each person at the table here to introduce themselves. We wanted to give a quick overview to those of you who aren't as familiar with our organization, just take a few minutes to explain who we are and what we do, and then we'll give some updates as to the funding that the legislature gave us recently and how we're proceeding with that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of committee. My name is Carson Parker. I am the Government Relations Manager for USA Cares.
Good morning. I am Trace Chesser. I'm CEO of USA Cares.
Good morning. I'm Timothy Johnson, and I'm a veteran.
Thank you guys for having us here today. So USA Cares was established in 2003. We are a 501c national nonprofit, and our mission is to provide post 9/11 military veteran service members and their families with financial services and assistance in post-service skills and training to create a foundation for long-term stability. Our services improve the quality of life for veterans and their families and reduce the potential risk factors that can contribute to veteran suicide. And you all were so gracious enough to grant us or appropriate us $2 million in this past session to go towards our mission. Veteran suicide issues. So a veteran can come out of the military and they lose their sense of purpose. This often leads them to feeling very alone and they lose a sense of control. And we all know that the average is 17 to 22 military members and veterans commit suicide every single day. This graph is depicting some of the information that our casework team has put together and has seen over the years. So a veteran or a military member can exit the service. They're finding difficulty finding employment, or they may be underemployed or unemployed. Their current job may be not fulfilling the financial issues that they are having, and so they're falling behind on their bills. All the while, their suicide risk is trending upward, and we'd really try to stop in when they're falling behind on bills. This could be 3 to 4 months behind. We've seen possibly 7 or 8 months behind. And this could lead to evictions and foreclosures. And this is what we are trying to prevent, is the family separating from each other. And once that family tends to separate, this is when we see that the veteran gives up and they potentially commit suicide.
So when I testified here along with Mayor Bill Deriff about a year ago and talked to this committee about what we were seeing and the numbers of calls we were seeing coming into USA Cares, and I threw out a number that we were receiving between 125 and 150 calls a week into our call center. Fast forward a year later, we're at about 250 calls a week, and it is not slowing down by any means. So one of the common questions that we get is, where do these referrals come from? So as you can see on the screen, largely they come from the VA. And we're seeing this pattern of when men and women leave the service, there tends to be a gap in pay. And they tend to have this fixed amount of time where they're told, we will catch up your payment after this time period. So we've seen as many as a month or two, and we've seen others go 10 or 11 months without pay. And I'm sure most of you can imagine a younger man or woman coming out of the military probably doesn't have that in their savings to live on. So we bridge them through where we can. And we're making a difference in the lives of these families. And we're keeping them together. We're keeping them in their home. Stopping evictions and foreclosures will stabilize many of these situations. Keeping them together in their homes, keeping them healthy, keeping them supported makes a huge difference. So you all worked with us. You are probably sick of seeing Carson and I knocking on your doors. We've been doing that now for the last couple of years, letting you know how much help we need. You all listened, and you all came through, and we are so, so grateful. And I wanted to share with you an update from the first quarter of this funding and what we're looking at. So in order to stay on track for the $1 million per year, we would be at $250,000 for the quarter. We're just under that. We're nearly there. But this is without solicitation. So this is without us seeking out clients to serve. That we wanted to kind of get a baseline for what we're looking at and who's coming to us. So the $212,000 that you see is just that, unsolicited requests that have come into us that we've been able to serve. And this is, if you can imagine, our case managers who deal with take these phone calls and help these families. They've been in a situation many times where they've had to say, I can't help you right now. The funding isn't available. And so for them to be able to now do all they can and make all these payments and to be able to help as many families is really exciting. So in this first quarter, we're at 48 Kentucky families served. And it's really an honor to hear some of these phone calls. So I also wanted to give you a glimpse of what kind of payments are being made. As you can imagine, when somebody calls and needs assistance, it's not just with one area. It's not just housing, or it's not just a car payment. It's usually multiple things. So when we can step in and help them, that's great. Housing definitely, in my opinion, is the most important. But utility payments, as it starts getting colder, we've got to keep the house warm. Food payments continue to go up. But things is like internet, car insurance, some of these things that are going to help somebody do their job so that they're not coming back around and asking for assistance again. So we're excited to see this 188 total payments. Again, that's just for the first quarter of this project. Yeah, I want to introduce Timothy Johnson. One of the things we wanted to be able to do was not just share our story, but ask one of our clients who's been assisted to share his. So, Timothy, take it away.
Thank you for allowing me to be here to speak today. On behalf of what USA Cares did for me, I can't begin to express the gratitude. It was literally a life-changing event for me. As so many other veterans suffer, I've suffered with the disease of addiction my entire life. After coming out of the services, it's been an uphill fight for a few years now, and it seemed that a blessing showed up in the form of USA Cares. Just as it was time for me to exit the sober living facility I was living in, they were able to help me with all those things that are listed on that screen. They were able to alleviate all the worries of the everyday paying rent. And when you first move into a place, it's quite discouraging because you have to have that large amount to move in at first. They were able to get me moved into my own place, which I haven't had in over 10 years, that I now live with my girlfriend of 6 years and our first child. So as far as keeping families together, yeah, they definitely do that. And, it's one of the things that hits my heart very deeply. They were able to take care of insurance for me. They were able to take care of, food when I moved into the apartment. I mean, to me, that's really going above and beyond to say, hey, we're going to help you with these things. We're going to get you in somewhere and get you stable and on your feet so you can go into the next stage of your life. But, we're also going to put food in your house for you. You have no idea what that meant to me and my family. To be able to feed my kids for over a month from the food assistance that I was given, to be able to have my vehicle repaired that I had just bought, looking at a monstrous repair bill, I was very discouraged. And everything I needed, I contacted my caseworker about, and she was relentless on getting something done about it. The aid that I received allowed me to go on living my life without this giant umbrella of what am I going to do, how am I going to do this over my head. It's been a long time since I've lived on my own, and like I said, this blessing couldn't have come at a better time. And USA Cares helped me transition to the next stage of my life where I feel comfortable that I'll be able to continue it on my own, without the temptation of substance abuse or, and I'm a part of a veterans specialty court in Hardin County. And I shared the information and my caseworker's information with that entire specialty court. And I know that 4 or 5 other veterans in that court have called and received assistance with bills that were, debilitating. One of my fellow veterans was recuperating from a heart attack and was over 3 months behind on his vehicles, needed all kinds of repairs. USA Cares came through and helped him recoup from not being able to work from that heart attack. So as far as taking a veteran and getting them in a better state of mind to where they're not tempted by the tragedy of suicide, it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming to see and be a part of what USA Cares does. And like I said, it's hard for me to even express the amount of gratitude and how thankful I am that this blessing came along and that these people do what they do. So I would like to thank them and all of y'all for hearing me. Thank you very much.
I have no idea why I'm sitting up here to speak when you got people like this. I've been with USA Cares for about 6 years. I am a little emotional about this because I'm retiring at the end of the year. So I get to spend more time, Representative, and you're sitting there smiling, I get to spend more time with my family, my kids, and but I'm going to become the greatest volunteer at USA Cares. Well, actually the second. The first one is Mr. Bill Roby sitting over here behind me that was the chairman for 12 years. So I appreciate you all allowing me this time to thank you individually. I know almost all of you I've met and know and have been able to thank you. I am so proud of this organization. I feel kind of like General Tyndall. I have watched it go from, we were trying to figure out how we were going to keep the doors open, to today we're able to help veterans like this. I have seen the worst side, where I'm hearing the rumors, or I've had the friends that have committed suicide. Just a few weeks ago, I found out another one of my friends committed suicide. It's a problem. But what you all have done, it doesn't fix everything. But what you've done is you've enabled us to, at a rapid pace, I like to think of us as a rapid deployment unit. In just a matter of hours, we can confirm everything. We can find out the landlord's telling us the truth. I mean, we have to validate every step of the way, and our case management team really has a very tough job. But we're able to do that, and sometimes it's the same day. But if you can imagine what that does to a person when you think, I am being thrown out on the street because I do have a letter of eviction in hand. If you can imagine what that does to them when they're trying to figure out what am I going to do with my kids, because almost all of them have kids, and they got to send them off to live with someone else. How do you feel living in your car knowing that you've failed so much in life that somebody else has your kids? That's a time that you all have helped to reduce. You've helped to reduce those situations. So I need you to know that you all are the true heroes here, that you all are really the ones that are doing it. We have the ability to execute the work because of what you're doing. And as the CEO of USA Cares, I've been going to a lot of other states saying, look at what the Commonwealth of Kentucky is doing. Why aren't you? What are you going to do? And I love putting them under the pressure of that because they're responding. Matt has other states that are now looking at doing something very similar. So you all have created a model. You've created a trend that's moving across the country. And we've had numerous meetings in Washington, D.C., where that the elected officials on Capitol Hill have listened to us. And they're looking at this saying, the Commonwealth of Kentucky did what? So I need you to know you made a difference. And I want to thank you for it very much.
Thank you. That'd be fine. I'm going to turn it over to Senator Deneen.
First of all, thank you for the report. Thank you for sharing with us your story and the difference that USA Cares is making and the investment that this General Assembly put into USA Cares is fruitful, it is well managed, and it is great to see the benefits for those in our Commonwealth that are taking advantage of this. I have with me, and I'll just read it from up here, I've worked with Trace, and many of us up here have. Upon his retirement, I would like to just read a short citation that I would like to bring down to you and present to you after I'm done reading. Trace Chesser is recognized and honored for his distinguished service to his country and his fellow Americans as a vital member of the United States Army, and for his dedication to this nation's veterans through his service as President and CEO of USA Cares, the position from which he now retires. Having joined the organization in 2018, Mr. Chesser previously served as Vice President of Career Transition, where he aided transitioning military, National Guard, and reservist veterans, as well as military spouses, in overcoming the challenges associated with obtaining employment. Prior to his work with USA Cares, he served as a managing partner with Scout Solutions Group and as Vice President of Career Services for Sullivan University Systems. And in both positions was responsible for developing strategies, procedures that enhanced business operations and opportunities for others. Mr. Chesser is an honorable veteran of the United States Army who served with great valor during the Gulf War with the 101st Airborne Division. Inasmuch, Trace Chesser has demonstrated a laudable allegiance both to the safety and security of this country and to the well-being of its brave veterans. He has offered sincere commendation and gratitude for his exemplary service to his country and to his fellow man. His extended best wishes for continued success and good fortune as he continues to embark upon well-earned retirement and serving others, and is hereby deemed by this honorable body most worthy of this recognition. Congratulations, sir. Thank you for your service.
We do have a question as Senator Deneen is headed back up here. Matt, you were misinformed. It was you they was tired of seeing, not her.
Yes, sir. I don't blame them.
Representative Dossett.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much for the presentation. As you know, Chairman Thomas and myself, both representing districts there within Christian County, Fort Campbell actually lies within my district. And I was having a conversation with a gentleman who actually lives in my hometown of Pembroke, who works for an organization called Operation Stand Down out of Tennessee. And I didn't know if you were familiar, but they are a veterans organization to help assist. And I wanted to make sure that we have a contact for them, because a lot of our veterans in Christian County, in that southwestern part of Kentucky, are being advised to contact these individuals, if this organization, if they have any issues. And it was one of a veteran who lives there in my hometown, an older gentleman. I would not have ever had the conversation with Mr. Randall, who works for this organization that lives in Pembroke, other than the fact that I had a very close friend of mine. He and his wife, he is a veteran of the Korean War and of Vietnam, and his wife is suffering with Alzheimer's, and working to help get them assistance with that. And he's also has received claims for Agent Orange. His disability has come through on that. But I want to make sure that I have a contact for this organization there within Clarksville, Tennessee. So if they are receiving referrals across the border, that they can actually be able to contact you as well. I hope you don't mind.
No, that's very helpful. I appreciate that. And we've had a lot of conversations with the legislature in Tennessee as well. They're familiar with the work that the Kentucky legislature has done, and it presents challenges that we can help on the north side of the border and not the south. So we are always talking to additional resources down there to help, and we would appreciate that contact.
And this may be, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, and this may be an excellent opportunity to have someone who's there within Tennessee that's working those cases that may actually help you to work something there through Nashville as well, through their legislature.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for coming and presenting today and giving us an update. I did have just a couple questions for you, and maybe because I haven't been around as much to hear about the whole program and such, but I'm curious, can you provide us with an update on the homeless veteran reintegration program and what your numbers are looking like currently?
Sure, we can. Amy, why don't you join me? Amy Callahan is our Vice President of Finance and Programs. She's more familiar. But just to give a quick overview, so USA Cares has the grant through the Department of Labor for the western half of Kentucky for the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. So we've been up and running for about a year. Is that correct? Okay. So do you have?
It's been about a year and a half. We were just approved to hire another person to help get us more veterans in those western counties. We've had a lot of luck in the Louisville metro area, but this will help us be able to find those veterans that aren't in our in the Louisville area, and so that we can get them back on their feet. We've been working with a lot of homeless shelters, trying to, get them out of these shelters and getting them back to work. It has been difficult. A lot of veterans have a lot of issues that prevent them from being able to work, and a lot of the clients that have came through the HVRP program, we've ended up helping them through our military assistance response program to help get them back on their feet in a different way.
Thank you. And then I also just have one other question, and that is, What sort of candidates would you be looking most to help? Is it like, are you kind of looking at maybe military rank, or do you help just anybody and everybody? I noticed that you had that it's post 9/11. I'm curious about that too. So can you just kind of give a little description for my benefit?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the post 9/11 is actually not that slide is pretty standard because that's our mission statement. But here in Kentucky, we've actually removed that barrier. So with the funding that we received from Kentucky, we're now helping both pre and post 9/11. We can't do that in every state. Texas and Kentucky are the only ones where we are able to do that right now, but we're hoping to remove that barrier in other states soon. As far as clients that we look to help, it's different from each program. So from our military assistance program, that tends to be housing. Those payments you see on the screen, those issues, as long as they meet the criteria, and that means they can provide a DD 214, they can prove their honorable status, they can hit some of those benchmarks, then we're going to assist. And when I say assist, I mean we make payments on their behalf. We don't give money directly to veterans. We work with their landlord or mortgage holder. We also have other programs such as our Senior Leaders Corporate Fellowship, which is out of Fort Knox, where we help transitioning senior leaders. So those would be your more senior military members departing. And then, as you mentioned, the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, where in many cases it ends up being formerly incarcerated veterans trying to rebuild their lives.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Senator Smith. Thank you. Senator Smith.
Yes, I apologize for being late, Mr. Chairman. And you may have already addressed this before I came in, but what kind of operations do you all have in Eastern Kentucky? I know Ray Hammond's a good friend of mine, big supporter of your organization, had reached out to me before during the flooding that we had. And of course, we had a lot of veterans impacted by that, and they're still impacted. But I noticed you talk a lot about Louisville. What can you tell us about eastern part of the state, or even really the western, the areas where you've had a natural calamity that have impacted our veterans?
So, great question. I appreciate it. We work closely all throughout the state. Louisville tends to be where many of the requests come from, but we work closely with the National Guard. We work closely throughout Eastern Kentucky to identify those opportunities. We also have a lot of partners throughout Eastern Kentucky with other organizations who that client may not be a fit for them to get assistance through them, so they'll refer them to us, and there may be other situations where it's the other way around. So I think it's a network, being able to stay in communication to find those people in need.
Go ahead.
Chairman, if I could. So do you have a field office, for example, that would be somewhere in the eastern I could refer a veteran to, or they have some place that they could walk into, or a physical presence? So
right now we just have our headquarters, which is in Louisville. We don't have physical offices, and we've done that just to reduce costs. But I promise you the reach is there, and the services are available.
All right, thank you. Representative Dossett, I've got a solution for your problem. There's a major general sitting back there, brags about graduating from the University of Tennessee. Let's see how much he loves them when the CARES goes down there with them. So if you'll help him, that would be great. So there you go, USA CARES, there's you some help. And I would think that Senator Alvarado would help us a little bit too.
He does.
He does.
We work closely with him. Thank you.
Any more questions? All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs. And Jessica just left me, and I have no idea what to do from now on. Yeah. You may proceed. Somebody just wake you up?
Yes, sir, they did.
Thank you.
Hey, you know you have to have that dramatic scene here. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, committee. It's always an honor to be here. Have a couple of introduction and then we'll go into our briefing. I'll let my deputy introduce himself.
Again, Juan Renault. I'm the deputy commissioner at KDVA.
Silas Session. I'm the executive director for the Office of Kentucky Veteran Services.
I'm Commissioner Whitney Allen, KDVA. If you guys can come up right quick and put some people on the spot. Yes, Bob. Yes, bring your daughter. Hey, come on, Bruce. You know, I had made this promise when I came in, especially as the chief of staff, to work with the previous commissioner, Commissioner Jackson, to have KDVA work with every possible agency and veteran service organization possible. That's including federal VA all the way down to these great Americans behind me. If you don't mind and indulge me for just a second, I want them to introduce themselves, say your name, your service, if you serve in combat, and your role as a veteran service organization leader, starting with Mr. Bob.
Good afternoon. Bob Casher. I'm the chairman for the Joint Executive Council of Veterans.
Yeah, that would help, Sergeant Major.
Bob Casher, chairman for the Joint Executive Council of Veteran Organizations. I'm also very active in the Disabled American Veterans as the Department Judge Advocate, and I served in the United States Army for 36 years, retiring at the rank of Command Sergeant Major at the division level.
Go ahead there, Ms. Robin. Yeah. You got two roles. Go ahead.
Good morning. I am Robin Higgins. I am retired Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Army, where I served for 28 years. I'm currently the chair of the Governor's Advisory Board for Veterans Affairs, and I'm also a member of the Women Veterans Coordinating Committee. I am a lifetime member of Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and I'm an annual member for the American Legion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
I'm Carl Johnson. I'm from the I'm the co-chair, the vice chair, and I also a life member of VFW. I am currently the state inspector for the Department of Kentucky, and I spent 22 and a half years in the military. I retired as a master sergeant.
Thank you, sir. All right, get up here, sir. I only expect 5. No, I'm just kidding.
Almost. Good to see you all again. I was here last month. My name is Daryl Casey. I'm a veteran service officer for the VFW Post 4075 here in Frankfort. Survived 4 combat deployments overseas. And I'm also we opened the Veteran Resource Center here in Frankfort to help veterans as well. And I'm the legislative chairman of JECVO. So I'll be seeing you guys again very soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Morning. I'm Carl Kalin. I'm the State Chief of Staff for the VFW. I've been a member 55 years, past National Chief of Staff. I'm also the Vice Chairman of the Kentucky Veterans Trust Fund. It's an honor to be here before this distinguished committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Bruce Ashley. I'm state commander of the VFW. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan 15 years. I got medevaced out of Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Jane Casher, the better half of Bob. We've been married for 45 years, and throughout that time, I've devoted my life and my family's life to taking care of our veterans and our family members. I am the past department commander for the Disabled American Veterans Auxiliary of Kentucky, and I am newly elected the 4th junior vice for our DAV National. And my motto was reach for the stars, going above and beyond for our veterans and families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, team. So, committee, these are just a slice of the veteran service organization leaders that are out here. The American Legion is not here today, the National Association of Black Veterans, and a few others. But hopefully, as you go into the next legislative session and then the interim time, is to invite them. So obviously, many come together as JECFO. But for example, VFW, they have their state mission and then they work with their national headquarters. So I implore you, if you really want to get to know veterans and the different organizations that help KDVA be successful, these are the jokers behind me, okay? So on that, I will turn it over to my deputy to talk about KDVA's operations.
All right, good morning. We're currently in our 26th year of dedicated service to our veterans of this Commonwealth. As you can see, we're out in the communities. We're doing things. We are conducting outreach on a daily basis. So, and we've been serving veterans since 1998, starting out with General Beavers. Yes, sir. This is kind of our organizational chart. We kind of think sometimes a lot of times, y'all don't really know what we do, and so we lay it out. Tries we might be explaining, and sometimes it gets lost in translations. And we've broken down into two offices, basically. We have the Office of Veterans Centers and the Office of Veterans Services. Obviously, you all know our Veterans Centers. We have them in Thompson Hood, Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Radcliffe, and upcoming at Bowling Green, which is currently probably about 85% complete. And on the opposite side of that, our services, we got our cemetery division. A lot of you guys know Al Duncan, who's part of that, heads that up for us. We have our benefits division, which is headed up by Mr. Stephen Buford, and in the states division, states program division, who is headed up by our recently hired Ms. Millie Dean Stevens. And under that under the state programs, we have our Women's Veterans Program, our Homeless Veterans Program, the Wounded and Disabled Program. So we're doing a lot of work out there, a lot of stuff. And our benefits division, so right now I think he just hired his 22nd field benefit representative. Now those 22 field benefit representatives service all 120 communities, counties, excuse me. So those guys, those men and women are stretched pretty thin, but they're out there doing yeoman's work.
Hold up, Deputy. Go back to that slide. And to sum it up, if you look at the Veteran Center, so OKVC, they make up 75% of my 850 employees dedicated to taking care of our most vulnerable veterans. On the other side, Dr. Sessions has about 70 people taking care of the 300,000 veterans, approximately 200,000 veterans in the state. In a very small headquarters, roughly 18 people, with one division responsible for of 4 people responsible for the outreach to the 300,000 veterans. So a lot of great dedicated veterans, very small footprint on one side that covers the entire Commonwealth. Thank you.
All right. Mm-hmm. Some of the recent achievements across the agency are, there's 4 straight Abraham Lincoln Pillow Award of Excellence. We got that this year for our a program in our veteran centers. The red carpet program, if you don't know what it is, the red carpet program is just what it sounds like. We roll out the red carpet for those veterans when they come in, and they're the veterans that are actually there at the facility that they're coming in, they greet them. The staff greets them, and they welcome them home on that red carpet. Our 3 veteran centers that were recognized by USA News and World Report for their outstanding care as well. Radcliffe, again, was recognized as the best rehab service facility in Kentucky. And our Veterans Cemetery in Southeast was recognized for their outstanding care and got the Stewardship Award at a national level. Now, just to toot our Veterans Center's horn a little more, we got 2 other ones getting ready to get awards for outstanding service provided at our veteran cemeteries. Our Governor Challenge program, kind of keeping that thing going, getting it revived and conducting and executing committee meetings. Excuse me. There's quarterly regional lethal safety training that takes place within the Governor's Challenge. As far as state and federal partnerships and outreach, we have our annual Commanders Conference where we bring in folks from Department of Veterans Affairs, federal, and bring them in they're engaging with our state veteran service organizations and the leadership within those veterans organizations. Our women's veterans conference annually, that is growing. It's really great to see that growing. And events with the VA, faith-based, and neighborhood partnerships across the Commonwealth. We also sponsor workforce hiring summits and hiring academies. So we're out there reaching out to veterans recently getting out of the military. We're at the transition assistance programs at Fort Knox and Fort Campbell, talking with veterans and presenting to veterans about opportunities to stay and remain in Kentucky. Just some pictures of some of the stuff here. Here's again. I'm not going to run through all of this. I'll just hit the high points on the upcoming. So Wreath Across America, all our veteran cemeteries conduct that. We're going to actually have an event at the Rotunda in support of Wreath Across America. More to follow on that. And as I was speaking to the two awards for Kentucky Veteran Cemetery Central and North, those two award presentations will take place in December on the 11th and 12th, respectively. And our Women's Veterans Summit Retreat, we got that coming up in March. And then our Federal Center for Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships in May of next year. All right. We'll talk a little bit about our homes here. In the last 5 years, I think we're at admissions got up to the highest it had gotten up to 221. So as of year to date, we're at 200 admissions. Unfortunately, you have discharges associated with that. And we know that sometimes those veterans get to go home. And unfortunately, sometimes they just don't. A lot of times we get them, near point, the ending part of their lives. And we try to make sure at those centers they're provided the best care, the best care possible. And let's look at our trends here. So our hiring and staffing trends is on the rise with support of locality premiums. We still got miles to go there. Miles to go before we sleep. We're still competitive, trying to maintain our competitive edge with other private agencies or private hospitals and private facilities. But we're taking other initiatives in support of that. So initiatives such as the nurse loan repayment program. We have that in place, but we're moving it back to try to get them coming in, not as you already here and starting to get the loan repayment program, but as an incentive to taking a job with the veteran centers, having your loans being repaid. And here we go on our back to Bowling Green. Again, the administrator, Mr. Gum, has been working in veteran centers for years, over 20 years of service there. So he's taking the lead on the Bowling Green, and he's hiring his staff. So he's building that base, that core staff to get the center up and running. Again, substantial completion date on construction is tentatively for January. As I said, right now it's a little bit more than 85% complete. You can see some of the photos of it. I mean, it's shaping up a great looking facility. And we expect about March or April to start admitting veterans. Obviously, we've got to have the staff in place to support that. Bouncing back to our programs. So they just recently received a grant. Dr. Sessions just received a grant on suicide mortality review, and the amount of that grant is for $300K. Dr. Sessions, you want to give a quick note on that?
Yes, thanks, Deputy. This is a very important work. The federal VA offered this cooperative agreement in order to do postvention for suicide. Louisville, the University, Dr. Fry from the University of Louisville has tagged team with the Louisville Department of Public Health to do suicide mortality reviews in Louisville. What we're going to do is add a veteran arm to that. And this is where, we take time, and I've been to 2 of those meetings. We take time and we actually review the cases which has happened. And once we do that, we kind of provide information for prevention. So just to wrap it up, what we're going to do with this cooperative agreement is build a veteran arm to that. Then we're going to spread that across the state. So that's what that cooperative agreement is going to allow us to do, to actually do some real time assessments of what's happening with the veterans who have a higher rate of suicide prevention within Kentucky. So that's what that's about. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and also in the programs division, our employment symposium, we have that coming up where we're looking at employment opportunities and training for veterans. And we have a virtual job platform that we have in the works where we can host job fairs virtually, where employers can just log in and link up with veterans across the state on a virtual basis, and makes it easier for engaging with employers. We have a Connect to Vet program, so that is a phone application that's put on a mobile device and provides resources to veterans across the state. We also have in that where we're going to have about 100 phones, and the idea is to target a certain population of veterans and provide them those phones with those applications on them, hoping to get that outreach. The intent is to get that outreach to veterans in underserviced or not as service well communities. And our benefits divisions, I'm not going to run through this all, but in the first quarter of FY25, our cumulative monthly award brought into the Commonwealth was $42.1 million. And during the first quarter, tuition waivers that were granted to kids, wives, husbands, and as well was over $9.5 million.
Hold on, yes. And to sum this up, and it's a real critical slide to understand from benefits. So right now, the state generates $1.4 billion in VA compensation per year. I'll give you an example what that means. A veteran, Vietnam, exposed to Agent Orange, get cancer from the exposure. If he gets 100%, that's $3,000 a month, turning into $36,000. If he's on Social Security and he's making $21,000 from Social Security, do the math a little bit. I have a physics math, so I'm a near number person. They goes from $21,000 to $57,000. That is roughly the average of two-income family in Louisville. So it goes from just above poverty to a good standard of living. But bottom line, it opens doors for other benefits and access as well. 10% gets a veteran business owner opportunity to compete for federal contracts. 10% or more allows veterans to go to the VA hospital to get certain assets. So this is, if there's a big core in KDVA, is the benefit division right here. Right now we have 39,000 on the roll. The state of Kentucky has 77,000, along with the help of the DAV, VFW, and our partners that do claims. And I know there's been discussion in the past of claim sharks and things of that nature. There's a reason why you created the benefits division, to have individuals who are run by state, great partners with federals, do not charge them any money, and look out for the best interests of the veterans. So right now, we're averaging $480 million from, thanks to his division alone, and with our great partners, $1.4 billion.
Some photos from events around the cemeteries, and right now across the all 5 of the veteran cemeteries, we've interred over 22,000 veterans. And we know a little while back, everyone was concerned about removing the residency statute from Kentucky. Has not been affected. We've said it time and time again, it hadn't been affected. We have the burial stipends program. That's the various VSO, veteran service organizations, that go out and provide honors to these at these cemeteries, and we provide them a payment for planned taps, the firing the volley salute and the folding of the flag and presentation of the flag to family members. So we have that as well, and as you know, that the payment for that will increase this coming January. We have an indigent burial program. This is something that we make sure no veteran is going to be put in an unmarked grave if we got anything to say about it. We're going to provide them the dignity they deserve. And so Mr. Duncan heads up that program for us. And I tell you, this is near. If you ever this one, my daughter says I lack emotions, and this is a program that made me show some emotions one day. Broke me down as I was running the cemetery in Radcliffe. When a veteran was there and we reached out to the community and folks came in from everywhere to little bitty Radcliffe. And the two active duty serviceman and woman that were there realized that I said no one was here for this veteran. Broke them down. They sat down where families would sit down and receive the flag for that veteran. And I had to pull the male soldier aside to calm him down. It was that emotional. So this is a good service that we provide for veterans. All right, some of our activities and programs. Mr. Keelan is, like you said, on our Veterans Trust Fund. I think what we gave last quarter was over $400,000 to organizations that do things for veterans, in support of veterans and their families. Our Governor Advisory Board, Ms. Higgins she's on that as well, and our Women's Coordinating Committee. We support all our veteran service organizations and the events that they do. Even Mr. Casher, who has one that he promotes for PTSD. Here is Better. We support that. We go out with him and go to various locations where he's playing that, showing that movie. And as I said, it's focused on PTSD and coming out the other side. Our license plate program, I Support Kentucky, also run by Mr. Duncan as part of our cemeteries division. It gets into another part of the trust fund there. And our Veterans Ambassador Program. I hinted on the nurse repayment program, loan repayment program, and our locality premium, offering competitive wages at our veteran centers. Bowling Green construction ongoing. As you said, we're going to put veterans in there when we know we got the staff to serve them. And the attracting veterans to veteran talent to Kentucky. So we're in the process of getting a welcome packet pushed out, not just in Kentucky, to various states across the country to entice folks to come to Kentucky, to live in Kentucky, to play in Kentucky, spend their money in Kentucky. So that's something, initiative we're working on right now. And these are just some examples of our involvement with the Veteran Service Organization, Memorial Day programs, Trust Fund. We have veterans leaders at the KET Forum, and then various outreach programs. And again, I'll turn it over to the commissioner here.
Well, thank you, Deputy and Director Sessions and committee for listening. We could cover a lot. Okay, I could talk about alone how his benefits division receive about 10,000 calls every month, working claims. I can talk about the 450 my Secretary Kirk gets just from my office. I can talk about the great things, and thanks to Representative Stevenson as well, and Ms. Higgins back here, Chairperson Higgins with my Women's Veterans Coordinating Committee, really energizing the women veterans in this state. It would be amazing. We can be here all day. As Dr. Session would say, KDVA everywhere, all the time, and in space. No, but we need to work on space, yeah. So we've done a lot, and this has been the best collaboration period that I've experienced with the VSOs here, many of the boards and committees, bipartisan support with bills, and working with federal VA at all levels. I mean, we've had 7 of the top 15 leaders in VA have come to the state in some form or fashion, either the state conference or the Women's Veterans Conference, or visiting their facilities. So I think as a state, we're doing well. We can always do better, and we plan on doing better. And I want to thank my teammates that have come in today, those who haven't, and most importantly, the men and women that make up Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. We do have a couple of questions. Representative Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Allen, thank you to you and your staff for your presentation today. It's always good to see all the good work that you do for our veterans there. I do have a couple quick questions going back to our nursing facilities in the Commonwealth. So in 2017, when we approved the, through House Bill 11, I believe the bill number was, the Bowling Green facility, building that facility cut our number of beds allocated to the Commonwealth below the level to build another nursing home. Is that correct?
So I have to get back with you, but we have a cap, and that home took up the space remaining, or most of it in the cap. But
so we don't know what that number is today.
Sir, Mark is not here. I want to give you exact number, but I mean, we're allotted, and I want to say 850 or something in that range, but I can give you a better answer for that.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So I asked that question because part of House Bill 11 also said that it's the intent of the General Assembly that the next veterans nursing home will be built in McGoffin County in eastern Kentucky, which happens to be my home county. Mm-hmm. Now, my understanding of communication with your agency over the years was the number of beds after that had fell below the allotment, but there was some work, maybe privatizing some rooms, because we know, unless something's changed, please correct me, some of the facilities are not reaching the potential of the percentage of beds being filled and could afford to go to private rooms, which would put beds back in the allotment. And so my question is, what is the Veterans Affairs currently doing to increase our bed allotment to where we can get to the point to have enough beds left in our allotment to begin another veterans nursing home in the Commonwealth?
Sir, right now we're focusing on filling the beds that we have right now in our homes and building Bowling Green. But that's something to discuss in the near future if you would like to sit down and talk.
Absolutely, I would. And I would also point out that in every budget, including this current budget, the language remains that it's the intent of the General Assembly for the next nursing home to be placed there in McGoffin County. We just need to get enough beds in the allotment to have enough to start that process so we can get another bed, because the closest facility to them is in Hazard, and it's, if not the highest percentage, it's the second highest percentage filled facility you have across the Commonwealth. So the need is there. It's great, and we're itching to get started on building another nursing home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Representative Wesley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to make a brief comment. First, I want to thank the commissioner for leading this team. He has helped me tremendously in not only my district, but throughout Kentucky. And we've had a lot of veterans reach out to us, and I want to thank him and his team. There has not been one time I've never been able to call and get a hold of any one of these that's here today. And they have a big task and a big responsibility in front of them. And I just want to thank every one of you. And so Commissioner Allen, he has been a tremendous help, not only with just the veterans here in this state, but we're dealing with people that has dealt with the bill that was just passed recently on a national level, the Toxic Water Act. And I also want to thank the Deputy Commissioner, Juan Renaud, for helping our veterans for that. I've reached out to Robin Higgins. She is over the advisory board for the veterans of the state. Just veterans with dementia, simple things, Agent Orange. These people, they didn't have to deal with them, but they did. And so I just want to thank every one of them that's here today. If you want to see the heartbeat of the KDVA for our veterans, it's here today. And I just wanted to give them a shout out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. But you know what I'm going to say, right? Being a fellow veteran. Thank my recruiter. Well, thank you.
All right, Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Allen. I echo those sentiments from Representative Wesley. Thank you and your staff for the great work you do and the responsiveness when we contact you with a veteran in need. You're on it and you get the job done, and I thank you for that. And
thank you, sir.
You're very easy to contact, and like I said, your folks take care of business, and that's important to our Kentucky veterans. So thank you and your staff, and thank to the service organizations that are here with you today. Thank you all for the work you do. You work tirelessly for our veterans, and just we don't thank you enough, and it's a great opportunity to say thank you. So and you mentioned the I support veterans license plate. I sported one of those for several years. I did the new POW MIA license plate is out, so I've transferred to that one this time. So that was one we approved a year or so ago, and it's available now. Commissioner, I did want to follow up, I guess, a little bit more on the nursing facilities, VA nursing facilities. What is our capacity now, or where you at percentage-wise, I guess, as being full? I know I know you've worked hard on that, and the nursing situation and having the staff to make sure that each one of those is at 100% capacity is a goal of yours. So just an update would be appreciated.
Yes, sir. We're roughly around 50% filled based on the staffing that's available. Example of, Radcliffe is 60 beds right now at capacity, but it's 58 of 60. If I'm correct, Hazard has 88 so far. The Thompson Hood has a little bit over 100, maybe 120. Yeah, and the West right now is a little absent-minded, but I can get you the information, sir. So we're hovering around 50%, a little bit over 50% overall, and we're at a point. Like I say, we're at the highest point right now in the mission in the last 5 years. I think we're bottom out already, starting 21. And thanks to all the great initiative and support, the pay raises, locality premium, investment of $200,000 in advertisement last year, we're on the upswing.
One more question, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I know your goal is to get to 100% capacity. What can we do to help, or what is our Achilles heel of getting to 100%?
Sir, keep us competitive. That's going to be pay raises, supporting any benefits like the loan repayment program, nursing loan repayment program, getting with university, encourage kids to come our way. Those are going to be, and then pass the word. For example, if you cannot get into Radcliffe Veteran Center, you can get into the other 3 veteran centers. And if there's opportunity for a spot to open to transfer, I think we just had an individual who finally got from Thompson Hood back to Radcliffe. So it's not the end of the world. If that particular facility is full, you can go over to another facility. We will take care of that veteran.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Deneen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner. I've been your critic at times, and I told you that I would also be your greatest cheerleader at times, and I want to thank you today.
Thank you.
I think your VSO work is improved, and I've heard good things, and I've seen great things out of the Radcliffe Nursing Center. I do believe that there are still issues, as you've heard from my colleagues, surrounding the enrollment in our nursing facilities and our VA centers. My immediate concern is for my Radcliffe Veteran Center in our district. I know you mentioned, where our capacity is 60, but we do have 120 beds in that facility, and the other 60 aren't available because of the heating and air conditioning units that we are funded in the last budget. I would like to kind of, if you could provide us with just a little bit of information on a time frame of which the improvements to that facility along those lines what has been done up to this point, maybe a time frame of when we can expect to have that work completed, to open up those wings and those beds for other veterans that may be on the waiting list, and for veterans across the state that may, as you said, may not have a bed available somewhere, but they can come to Radcliffe Center, which is doing an outstanding job. And I appreciate you being down into the district just the other day for At Least We Forget concert. I saw you there, and I do appreciate you coming down and being a part of those.
Thank you, sir. Well, I always say this, sir. Obviously, thank you all for the bipartisan support and giving us funding for the HVAC system. Obviously, we go into the fiscal year with that money. We're currently in HC planning right now, and probably by the end of the year, we'll have a definite timeline. I'm a consumer of the building, so I'm not an engineer. I have a physics degree, but that's where we're at right now, and we're waiting on the results of that, and we'll try to get it to you as soon as possible, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our last question, Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions. One is the loan repayment plan, which I think is probably a good idea. It's a very competitive market out there to try to get nurses and such and such. Is there any requirement that these people stay on for a period of time once you repay their loans?
There's no requirement to stay on. Obviously, there is a requirement of being on, if I'm correct, in order for them to get their loan being paid. And then from there, they will, they'll continue to serve, and most of them do because they're there because they believe in the work, sir. But I can get you further details after the session.
Thank you. And my last question is a general question. So I'm looking at your numbers here, and there's 267,611 veterans in the state of Kentucky. And there was a mention a while ago of about what percent of disability or whatever you be able to, that you must obtain in order to be able to qualify. I think you said it was 10% on some of these programs that you're involved in. Could you give me just a general idea of what percent of our veteran population is able to achieve that 10%? I know that I've got a lot of friends that probably receive 100%, but of our entire veteran population, just do you have a general for us to educate us?
I don't have the total numbers. I do know that we have 77,000 that has a disability claim, meaning from 0 on above, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just because I like her, I'm going to let Senator Byrd ask the last question.
Well, thank you, sir, and I like you too.
Thank you.
You may not know the answer to this question, but as we get closer and closer, do we have any understanding of what the plans are for the current Robley Rex VA facility in Louisville?
As in completion date? Or what's in oh, you're talking about the old facility?
What are we doing with the old facility when we move to the new one?
Do not know, ma'am. That's in federal range. But I can reach out to Dr. Joanne Gainsberg, who runs Robley Rex, and is a great friend and ally, and I can find your answer.
That would be helpful. My understanding when I worked there was that they were contemplating not only nursing home beds, but also inpatient mental health facilities. So I would really like to know what, because the building's up, we're going to be moving. What are we planning on doing with the old facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Plus, I can see it out my kitchen window, so I really want to know.
Well, ma'am, my wife prepared me for that question because she asked me 3 times Saturday night on our dinner date as we passed by it. It's like, what are we going to do with the old facility?
What are we doing? Yes.
And I gave her the same answer to you. I mean, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. While you're sitting there, we're going to tackle this administrative reg, and it should be no big deal. I think if I understand it, it's increasing the stipend for the honor guard from $60 to $100.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Real easy, sir. That's what we want to do.
Thank you. Last time you weren't here, they didn't have such an easy one. So yeah, we're easy now. Any questions? Oh no, not you. Are you going to ask a question? All right, go ahead.
I just want to continue the brags that have been offered here today by my colleagues, because I've heard a lot about the need for this increase from folks like my VFWs in Pike County and the DAVs in Floyd County. And I just want to say that when we first spoke about this increase, I could tell that it seemed like a far reach, because obviously funding is tight, but we recognize that this is something that we definitely want to continue the ceremonies at our burials for our veterans. And I want to thank you for putting such a for the importance that you have focused on with this increase. Be it a small victory, it is definitely a victory for our veterans, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Senator Hignan's going to lay some knowledge on us here.
Well, I don't know about that. That'd be debatable. Don't vote on it, okay? I just want to comment on the administrative reg on increasing the allotment for our those honor guard units that go out and perform these military rites at the funerals. If you've not been to one, you should. It's very touching and very appropriate that we honor our veterans with this. And $100 stipend for a group. If you're doing the 21 gun salute and taps and presenting the flag, folding the flag, it's minimum 12, 13 member crew that goes out. So $100 stipend for them taking half of their day to go and do this. And we have a lot of dedicated, extremely dedicated veteran groups, veteran honor guards around the state of Kentucky that do this, and hats off to them for that great work. And this is just a drop in the bucket of a token of appreciation for what they deserve, or what they need to kind of cover their cost of a van and uniforms and rounds and weapons and all the things that they had to provide to go out and do this. So it's a very special thing that's due our veterans, and our honor guards around the state do a great job in providing that last that service. So again, thank you for bringing that forward. It should be more, but it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
When I sold insurance, when the person said yes, I shut up. So we've got this reg through. Let's all looks good. So we'll shut her down there. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you,
The
Chairman.
reason I say this guy to last, I hear he's like a Baptist minister. He don't know when to hush. I mean, General Brigadier Steve Bullard. And then I have an announcement while he's headed here. We have the two board of directors from the National Guard Association of Kentucky. I want them to stand up real quick. Jason Penn is the president. Michael Monahan, serves as the vice president and Army representative for the association. And they would like for you all to know that on February the 15th, more details is coming, but they're going to feed you. But they want you at a social event on the evening of February the 15th. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and thank you for the invitation. And if you all want to stay, you can, because they say that he knows it all. Thank you, General. Thank you, sir. Here you go, General.
Thank you, Chair Girdler. Thank you, senators and representatiors, and really appreciate it. We've got till 4:30, right? Because I can fill it.
Yeah, you'll be here by yourself, but you got till 4:30.
I can easily fill it. So today, I'll try to go through my slides briefly, quickly, and just talk about the good news story that is Kentucky's military community, and it is a good news story. So this body did a lot of work to make us BRAC proof, base realignment and closing, because we were hurt in the past by BRAC starting in 1995, and you've done that. We are in great shape. Very, very solid military community. We play well above our weight. And as you look from the slide here, I did a deep dive study this summer. We did for the Cabinet for Economic Development that I did email out this summer, and we'll be updating that at the end of the year. And I added that one pager that's in your packets on the military community. But we ranked 13th in the nation in direct defense spending, $14.6 billion, up 13.9 from last year, and that's great. Now, one thing I want to point out on direct defense spending: this is not operation spending. This is for personnel and for contracts. Operations spending, Department of Defense has told me, Dr. Paul Coombs at the University of Louisville has confirmed it, that it's just so hard to track it that DOD doesn't even make the effort to track it by state, because the 101st Airborne Division spends it all over the world. They don't spend it all in one place. And you'll see from here, we have one of the nation's largest military contracts, Humana in Louisville, runs TRICARE, the military health care for military families all over the world. That's a $7.1 billion contract. You can see that this is a predominantly Army state from the left corner, with the vast majority of our expenditures on personnel going to the U.S. Army for good reason. And we're a good news story. This chart here shows our economic impact, and it really closely correlates to military installations, as you'll see from the next slide. But I'll add on the bottom right, you have Laurel County and McCreary County, where Congressman Hal Rogers and Senator McConnell put a lot of money into our counter-drug efforts down there. Great news story. And then again, the military in Kentucky, based on our slide here, you can see where it's at. And we are, as I said, predominantly Army. You've got Fort Campbell and Fort Knox, two of the premier military installations, and they aren't going anywhere. They are what we would call BRAC-proof. In fact, if Congress ever did a BRAC, we're expandable. We have 5,000 expandable acres at Fort Knox. We can expand a mission down at Fort Campbell. For example, I get pushback from the community down there. Why aren't you advocating for C-17s to come to Fort Campbell? Well, God, I'd love to. I'm Air Force, and the Air Force is never going to put C-17s willingly at an Army base. But if there's a BRAC and they have to consolidate, well, then what better place to put them than where they belong, at Fort Campbell, with the 101st Airborne Division, our nation's rapid deployment force, deployed all over the world. You've got Fort Knox as the human resources campus for the U.S. Army. Well, why couldn't it do that for the entire services, all of them? They could. If it comes push to shove, you could do that. You have a jewel in Bluegrass Army Depot. We finished eliminating chemical weapons, the active weapon itself, in the summer of 2023, and we're in a 3-year cleanup. But Bluegrass Army Depot is also the nation's logistics hub for all Army installations east of the Mississippi River. Everything we're sending to Iraq, everything we're sending to Ukraine, everything we're sending to Israel is all prepped and shipped out of Bluegrass Army Depot. It's a mission that's not going anywhere, and we're looking at adding additional missions, working very closely with the Army to do that. You have Bluegrass Station in Lexington, which is home of U.S. Special Operations Support Forces Activity, or SOFSA, Special Operations Forces Support Activity, and they do support for our special operations folks all around the world. Anything that becomes special operations at Bluegrass Army Depot. It's technically not a federal military installation because it's run by the Kentucky National Guard, and there are a lot of other activities there. We have the U.S. Navy Reserve in Louisville, and we have the nation's largest inland Coast Guard unit, Coast Guard Sector Ohio Valley, headquartered in Louisville and Paducah, maintaining our big lakes and our inland waterways that called the Brown Water Coast Guard. So we have the Army Corps of Engineers in Louisville that does a lot of work as well. Like I said, I could go for hours. It's just a great news story. And look at the Kentucky National Guard. Well over 50 armories across the state, representatives from all 120 counties, 3 major training areas, headquarters in Frankfort at Boone National Guard Center, and a federal installation, which is a Kentucky Air National Guard base in Louisville that has to be a federal installation because of the aircraft that we maintain there, the C-130Js. And just another great news story. And so quick facts. And we're the 4th largest employer by sector in Kentucky, with 53,661 Kentuckians getting a direct DOD paycheck. And that's contractors, soldiers, airmen, reservists, guardsmen, and DOD civilians. Fort Knox is the 6th largest city in Kentucky. And Fort Campbell is the home not only to our nation's most deployed contingency forces. They put out about an average of 450 soldiers a month into the community, which is a resource for our community to draw on through workforce development. We partner with the Office of Defense Community Cooperation, OLDCC, and doing that, they came to us last year and asked us if we would do a deep dive and gave us $1.7 million onto the Defense Industrial Base in Kentucky. Identify the Defense Industrial Base, see what we can do to help them do their jobs better and get better opportunities to create business, and see what kind of lessons learned that we can move forward. And we agreed to do that. We brought on Dr. Dallas Kratzer as our grant program manager, and Dallas is one of the foremost experts on workforce development regarding military veterans in the nation. And through this grant, we're also working on other ways to help with workforce development. And Dallas, why don't you go on here real quick and tell us about what just happened?
So last week we had the veterans. Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, Dallas Kratzer. I'm with the Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs as a senior associate working military and education initiatives. We have several things going on with the most recent event, working in collaboration with the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. We hosted the Veteran Employment and Training Symposium at KCTCS. And at that event, we brought employers in to train them on how to hire transitioning service members coming off of active duty. As you've heard, we have approximately about 3,000 service members that return back to Kentucky every year, and they're looking for work. This will allow our employers to engage them much earlier as they're transitioning out, using a program called Skill Bridge or Career Skills Program, where they can do an internship at an employer up to 6 months prior to coming off of active duty. We had about 200 participants in this event. We used this event to bring together several state agencies to collaborate: the KWIB, the KDVA, the Career Skills Centers, Council on Post-Secondary Education, USA Cares, KY Valor, all of these organizations to help employers understand how to hire veterans. It's been hugely successful. This is our third year to do it, and we look forward to a fourth year.
And we're working in many other areas as well. We have a final report on our Defense Industrial Base study due to DOD in the spring of 2025, and we'll be sharing that with you next year. Legislative successes. So I tell people all the time, we want to be the nation's most military-friendly state. We don't have the resources to compete with Florida and Texas. So we do what we can, and we do an awful lot. We've passed over 200 military veterans bills since 1954. I have a list of what every single one of them are and what they do. And these are some of the examples of what you have done to support the military in Kentucky. And many of you here today have played big roles in a lot of this legislation. So I want to thank you for that. We've done a lot of things right. Last session was one of the best we've ever had. We were 7 for 7. You gave us 7 bills, and these are the bills you passed. They were all meaningful, and we thank you for that. We actually do not have a specific agency bill coming up in 2025. That's a nice place for us to be. However, we support the Dietitian Occupational Licensure Compact that has been briefed to the Occupations and Licensing Committee, and we are in very good shape with that. That community is totally on board. I'll talk a little bit on the next slide about why it's important. Heroes to Healers is another project that we helped initiate through Council on Post-Secondary Education with KCTCS and the Kentucky Board of Nursing on board. You've heard about that. I won't brief it here. We love that program and support it. It's a great, great opportunity for us that can be expanded out into many other career fields if successful here, and we're very optimistic for it. We're already looking at 2026, developing a collegiate version of the Purple Star Schools program. It will need a small fiscal note for CPE to run with this program, which is why we're waiting until 2026. And the Army has asked us to look at how we do a study on how we handle juveniles on federal military installations when it comes to legal issues. So I've talked to the Beshear administration. They've agreed to help incorporate getting that study going, and we're going to be working with them to do that, and with the Defense State Liaison Office. So we have a strong partnership with the Defense State Liaison Office. We just lost our longtime representative there, Eric Sherman, who has worked with many of you. He has retired. He is now consulting with the Council on State Governments. So that's good. He has been replaced by Sam Sliney. She will be here in January to meet with legislators and other community leaders, and we're helping set up meetings for that. And their priorities are occupational licensing compacts, which I'll discuss, and then the juvenile jurisdiction study that we're going to do. If anything comes out of that, we'll let you know and look for partners to go forward with it. So occupational licensing compacts, you are one of the leaders in the nation in this area. We have some that aren't included here, such as the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. The DOD has 16 priority compacts. So DOD is not telling states you must pass these. DOD is saying compacts are a great solution to the transfer of occupational licenses, and they're great because states agree one-on-one on how to deal with this. They actually enter in agreements on how to specifically do it. Congress passed the Service Members Civil Relief Act military spouse licensing exemption in 2023, which requires states to give reciprocity in accepting occupational licenses, and that also extends to military families, spouses. And however, we think compacts are an even better solution. They do the same thing, but it's more targeted. So we love compacts. So if a community comes together and says this is the right thing for Kentucky, and if you can get on as one of the first 7 members, you get to actually help direct that compact. So that's an incentive for getting on early. And then we're all for it, and we will help you. And we have that going on with the dietitian licensure compact. That community is all on board. We have other compacts that are looking at their options here as well. And if they want to move forward, we'll help them do that. And that's my presentation today. So I look forward to any questions if you have any. It's just a good news story. And I hope to update that major report that we did at the end of the year, because the numbers they change all the time, and they're a moving target.
Thank you, sir. We do have a couple of comments or questions. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, General. Great presentation as usual. Dallas, good to see you, bro. So I do have a question, sort of comment, mostly a question, and it deals with workforce recruitment. And I know much of what you're working on now is focused on that, especially Dallas. I know that's your specialty. The one area that I hear a lot from veterans who are ETSing and making a decision is, and I hate to put it this way, but why would I stay in Kentucky and pay income taxes on my retirement when I can go to other states right around us and find a good job there and not have to pay income tax on my retirement? Could you just speak? Is that a major issue, minor issue, or
it is, unfortunately. So I'm a retired military senior leader. There are 11 states in the country that tax military retirement income at some level. Kentucky is a partial tax state. $31,100 is our exemption. The average military pension is $27,700. So the average military pension is not affected by that. Mine is, obviously. I'm much larger than that. And so what we're looking at, though, is that military retirees, their tax situation is the number one thing they look at when they decide where to live. Tennessee has drawn 170,000 new veterans a decade for the last 4 decades. Kentucky has right now, around 240,000 veterans with the latest figures. That's, Tennessee's getting that every decade coming into their state because of their tax structure. So you're doing all of the right things. I had a 4-star general 3 years ago poke me in the chest at a function and say, EKU graduate, and he said, you tell your governor that my wife and I will never retire to Kentucky as long as you tax a penny of my retirement income, of my military requirement income. And we've been working on it for a long time. So the challenge for the veterans community, why you've never seen a major grassroots initiative to do this, is because of the self-serving appearance of that. We've been advocating since the 1970s for a full military retirement income tax exemption. The initial challenge there was teachers, which they had a tax exemption until 1976 when they lost that for various reasons. And so it's never gained any traction over the decades. I've been working with it since the early 90s, and for various reasons, it's just never gained traction. It was the same for the military income tax exemption. We never gained traction on that. We worked that hard. The Christian County Chamber really worked that hard, starting in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003 timeframe. We finally got it in special session in June 2009, but we didn't get it because for economic development purposes. We got that because of the January 2009 winter ice storm and the amazing performance by the Kentucky National Guard, coupled with perfect timing on everything that had gone on in Iraq and Afghanistan and where we were, and just the massive goodwill. And we still didn't get it in the regular session. We got it in special session where it was written into the budget bill. And I had asked the committee on this to consider adding the military retirement income tax exemption. I was told, no, absolutely not. We're not going there. So, but the reality is, it's something that veterans make decisions based on. And you want veterans leading your community. A great example is Colonel Robert Spiller. Was just, we talked about him, the Bowling Green Veterans Center. He was an active duty Army colonel who elected to stay in Kentucky and took a senior leadership role in the community in Bowling Green. That's the kind of person that you want to attract. And we have, these are folks that are great leaders. So if you're bringing, you can retire from the military as early as age 37, 38 with a 20-year full retirement. You can retire earlier if you're a wounded warrior, medically disabled. And, but we're also looking at those folks who did 30 to 35 years, became command sergeant majors, chief master sergeants, lieutenant colonels, and generals, and they're not making the decision to come here by and large. I personally, I was offered a job for a much higher salary last fall. But it's in Washington, D.C. I'd rather live in Kentucky. I don't care what the tax implications are. I'm not working there. So it's just a reality that we face. So workforce is the way to go to advocate for that. The Governor's Advisory Board met last week. We talked about this in detail, and we agreed that this is just not something that we as a veterans community want to go out and be self-serving and advocating for. It has to be a workforce initiative. Bowling Green is now looking at really tapping in to that market of 450 soldiers on average to get out of Fort Campbell every month. So the South Central Kentucky Workforce Investment Board, the Southwestern Kentucky Economic Development Council, they're teaming with the Christian County Chamber to try to look at this from an economic perspective as an investment in our communities to get people like Colonel Spiller to come out and be part of our communities and be leaders in our communities from an economic aspect as an investment. Obviously, there's a cost, but there's an investment here. So Chair, I could go on forever.
Can I mention about how workforce?
I've heard you could. Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, General. And the number you have on here is $744 million annual pay to Kentucky and retirement benefits. That's correct. Well, the time is right to start on this doing away with the income tax for retirees, military retirees, because January 1st, 2026, our income tax reduces to 3.5%. So all of a sudden, it's not near as expensive for the state of Kentucky to eliminate that. And that's always been the issue as a budgetary item. It was very expensive. So, and if you exclude the $32,000 cap and from that $744 million, we might come at 3.5%. It's down to $26 million, and that's way below what we ever looked at before, because we always looked at 6% being the income tax. So I think the time is right. If you can do a big study on what that new figure, when you take the $32,000 out, we might reduce that to $10-15 million annual payment.
Well, our current estimates are between $6 and $9 million. LRC would actually have to do an economic study on that. Well, so we have gotten it down considerably.
$6 to $9 million is a no-brainer. It's absolutely a no-brainer. So good luck on that. I think the timing would be correct for the 2026 budget cycle, and hopefully we can get that done. It would be a real plus for Kentucky.
If I could just add, all of the work that we're investing in workforce to attract service members here as they're transitioning off of active duty is our way to mitigate that to some level. However, Other states are able to say they don't have a state income tax. It doesn't matter what the amount is. Because they can say that, they have one over on us. And by mitigating that, I believe that we'll be able to attract more service members who may not even be retiring from the military. They're simply getting out because we no longer have that stigma. And with that, we need to remember that those that are retiring out need jobs or employers that are ready to hire them now. And that's what we're working toward here with the commission, with our other state agencies, to not only be military friendly, but to be military ready and military engaged by having employers who know how to hire veterans. And we're making great headway in that direction.
And if you've got 8 years in the Army already, why not join the Kentucky National Guard and get your pension and serve your state even further?
Senator Deneen.
Thank you,
Quick.
Chairman. Yeah, this will be real quick. I've been contacted by several veterans in regard to the Homestead Act and the money that we provide those breaks to our veterans. Texas has a wonderful model, a tier model for those that are disabled from 100%, 90, 80 on down, that they give on top of the Homestead Act amount. So I would encourage my colleagues on this committee to look into that Texas tiered model of Homestead Act additional reductions for those veterans. As we've seen across the state with economic development, our property values have increased tremendously. And when that happens, of course, they're on a fixed income, and so has their tax bill. And so some of our veterans that are out there that are disabled are struggling with some of those payments, especially in my district where we're seeing a huge economic boom. So I would encourage my colleagues to look into those models along with me. Thank you.
Representative Wesley, this is it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just follow up a comment. Senator Demeen already mentioned the Homestead Act, and I was going to question you about that. But what I did do, I copied the Homestead Act, sent them to my VFWs, my AMVETs, and let them know what's available to them out there. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing, General. Appreciate you being here. And thank you for your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. It's 1 minute till 1, and the lights go out at 1. So we're going to make, Senator Higdon said he made a motion that we adjourn. So we got a second, and we're gone.